Well, hello there. Merry Christmas to you in July. I have been trying to share this craft with you for a long time. I think it's been a year and a half, but it's just so busy during the holiday seasons that I said we'll do a Christmas in July, so I have the time. You're asking me, what is this craft? Well, let me show you. It is a crochet ornament. Isn't this pretty? There is something so classic and delicate and timeless about a crochet product. But don't worry, you don't need to know how to crochet. I don't know how to sew, I don't know how to crochet, but you can do this with a loom. If you don't have a loom, you can get one at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. You can find them by different prices from $14 to $20, $30 depending on the set you want to get. Or I have made one just from items from the dollar store. I'll put the video in the description box, that way you can check that out. But not only this is a very easy, simple project, but it is also very inexpensive. All you need is yarn and time, and you're ready to go. So stay with me and let me show you how to make this beautiful loom Christmas ornament. These are the supplies you will need. You need yarn, of course, and use a thicker yarn. It looks more wintry, is that a word? You will need a loom, a hook, plastic needle, scissors, an ornament, of course, and an extra piece of yarn. Speaking of ornaments, do not get a glass ornament, because if they break, all your work is ruined. Also, be careful with the ornaments that pop open, because if they open once they are inside the loomed ornament, you may not be able to fix it. I use clear ornaments. They are about 10 inches in circumference. Try to use an ornament close enough in size to the loom. Otherwise, if your ornament is too small, your loom will sag. Or if it's too big, it may overstretch, showing the ornament underneath. You can actually use the clear ornament without painting it, but I chose to paint mine in order to match the color of the yarn. If you want to match the color of the yarn to your Christmas ornament, there are a couple of ways you can do that. One, of course, is to buy an ornament of that color already, but I bought at a discounted store where you've been a whole bag of these clear ornaments. I'll put the link to that experience in the description box. But one of the easiest way of turning this into the color you want is with spray paint, especially if you're gonna do several of them. And the color is a color that you may not find at your store at this time of the year, or it's a color that is a little bit difficult to find. So what you're gonna do is get your spray paint, remove the cap, and you're gonna spray paint inside. Make sure you give your spray paint a couple of shakes. Keep twisting it so it coats the entire ornament. The nice thing about this method is that it's very fast, and also it doesn't scratch because the paint is in the inside. Here are the colors that I'm going to be working with for these Christmas ornaments. And this is a perfect opportunity to show you what to do if you don't have spray paint of the color that you want to use. I am going to mix regular school glue with acrylic red paint. I chose a color of red that will match or closely match with my yarn And I had a bottle that only has a little bit left. I would say maybe 1/4 of the bottle has paint. And I'm going to pour the same amount of glue, maybe a little bit less. And the reason is because my paint is very, very watery. So I need a little bit more of glue to thicken it. And then I am going to shake it well. Make sure the glue is mixed with the paint. Pour it inside of the ornament and swirl it around to make sure all the area is covered and let it dry. Now this is gonna take me longer than the spray paint, but I don't wanna go get spray paint just for this project. Success today with a spray paint. Look what happened. See that? I'm going to add glue in there, but I wonder if it is because today is raining. It's very, very humid. I am going to try with the one I tried yesterday. Big difference. Yes. This one was just like water for some reason. It wouldn't stick at all. But this one is the one that is working the best. As you can see, it's not as milky. If I had to do this again, I will mix the acrylic paint of my choice with the glue and save yourself some money on the spray paint. So that's good that I made this mistake and you didn't. Now, let's loom. We are going to make a slip knot just to secure the yarn to the loom. Grab your yarn and leave a few inches of a tail, I would say about 10 inches long or so, and wrap it around your fingers. Take one end of the yarn and you are going to loop it through the little loop you just made with your fingers. Then let it off. Let me show you again. Put it over the marker of the first peg. Pull the yarn to tighten it. And if you don't have a marker, use a Sharpie to indicate which one is your first peg. Trust me, it is very helpful knowing where your circle starts and where it finishes. And don't worry about undoing your slip knot if you don't have a marker on your first peg. This first knot will work as your first loop. I also like to put the leftover yarn into the opening so it will not bother me as I work with the long end of the yarn. Now you're going to take the long end of the yarn and you're going to go behind the first peg to the right and loop around it. Let me show you again. And we are going to do the same thing with the next peg. Now, don't pull the yarn too tight or it will be really hard to pull the yarn over the peg. But don't do it too loose either, or it will come undone. And continue to do this looping around with all the pegs until we get back to the beginning. Once you get back to the beginning, hold your yarn so it doesn't come off, the pegs of course, and push your loops towards the bottom of the pegs. Now we're going to wrap again another row above the first row, and we're going to go around until we get back to the beginning. And we are going to take our hook and bring the bottom loop over the top loop. I like to do the last one first. That way I don't accidentally release the yarn and then all comes undone. So insert the hook in the little groove and pull it over the peg. Repeat all the way around. Now that we have our first row, or what we call our cast row, it is time to do the next one, and we are going to repeat this process over and over again. Once you have a couple of rows, it's time to release the slip knot we made to secure it. Take it out of the marker, pull the end of the yarn, and it should come down easily. Well, most of the time. There you go. Question: how many rows do you need? Well, it all depends on the size of your ornament. The larger the ornament, the more rows, and the smaller, of course, less rows. I check by measuring the ornament with an extra piece of yarn, and I have that length. It is better to have extra rows than not enough. You can always undo rows, but once you remove it from the loom, you cannot put this loom piece back in the loom to add rows. This is approximately 11 rows already that I did. Now it is easier once you get the loom going to go from the inside and push your loops down. Now you may ask, why do we need to push this all the way down? Well, maybe not all the way down, but it depends on the yarn. You want to see the separation, because this yarn, if you look at it, it's kind of like double. You see that? And there are yarns that are even worse, like they're the fuzzy ones. So if you don't separate them, you may get confused and take just one part of the first loop instead of taking both. Now let's check. Let's see. I'm gonna grab this end, put it right there, and see if I am. Probably will need one more row. You can never put this back in, okay? So be aware of that. You can always make it shorter, but you can make this longer. Let me try the ornament. Then, let's see. This stretches too. So this is about right. Once you think you have enough rows to cover the ornament, it is time to cut the yarn, but leave a few inches extra to sew close the ornament. Now it is time to use your plastic needle. Thread the yarn in the needle, lift all the loops closer to the top of the peg, and we are going to find the first peg that we work with. We are going to go under and pass all the yarn and release it. Let's do the same thing with the second peg. And the third one, and so on. Okay, and the last one. You don't want to miss any of the loops, any of the pegs, because then it's gonna be a mess. So make sure you're careful. Once we do the last one, we can remove it from the loom This is what we're left. Technically, you can go ahead and put the ornament through here. Let me show you. And then you tighten it around there, okay, that way. But I like to use this as the bottom, so let me remove that. So now we're gonna pull. We're trying to close this as much as possible. That's what I like, to leave this at the bottom. Make sure you don't break your yarn, okay? Pull, but don't pull so hard that you break it, because then you can still fix it, but it's gonna be much harder. So now that this is closed, I'm gonna go a couple of times, secure it a little bit more. I'm going to go in the same direction I came with the needle. One more going up. And now I'm going to go the other direction. That way it doesn't come loose, just in case. You work so hard for this moment, you don't wanna make a mistake at the end. Okay, so now one more. Where are you? This is the nice thing about a needle that is made out of plastic. Okay, so the last one, I like to go around a little hoop. Again, so I made that. That's why my mom taught me. And that should be super secure. Okay, now is the moment of truth. But before we do that, I like to call this the activation of the yarn. Give it a good stretch so all that yarn comes into place. We're activating it. Okay, let's see if we did enough rows. Oh my, we did enough and over. Well, this is good. See, I didn't need that many. This was a little bit, because of course, this was a little bit deceiving because yarn stretches. So, but at least I have extra and not less. Now, this is the one end that you started with. This is the one I just closed. Before we cut this, you had to make the decision. Are you gonna leave it on this side, or you are going to flip it out, or you're gonna flip it and put the wrong side or the inside out? And that's another look, okay? I like this look more for my Easter eggs that I made, because it looks more delicate. But for Christmas, since it's winter and we love sweaters and thick sweaters and warm sweaters, I really like how the braids come out. So I decided that this is gonna be the outside. I'm going to go and put my needle with the yarn and pull all the way through. And I'm just gonna leave an excess of it, just a little bit extra, so it will not come apart in the future. I don't think you're gonna play basketball with this, but still. And that was in the inside. Perfect. Now I'm going to show you how to make this shorter. I'm gonna make it easier on me, and I'll remove this. We need to find, the first one is kind of hard to find, but see, I pull that string and it comes out. I think I went over by 2 or 3 rows. So what I like to do is, I'm gonna put my needle to mark, this is the first row I pull the string through. So I know when I come around once, because it can get confusing. So once I come around once, I'll check again, and maybe I need 2 more rows or 3 more rows. Let's try one more time. Perfect. Let me remove this extra yarn. Now this is too long. You don't need that much. You need about this much, which is like what, 10 inches or so. It's just so it goes around. Now we are going to secure this. I'm going to remove the cover of the ornament. And again, let's get this yarn through the needle. Let me see if my hook can help me here. There we go. I will estimate 20 rows. Depends on the yarn too. This yarn kind of stretches a little bit. And the thickness and how wide your ornament is. So what we're going to do now is we have to go under each loop. You see that? Under each loop that we made, we're gonna go under with this needle. Now, if we leave one of those out, we can fix it at the end. It's not like when we remove it from the loom. So we go under each loop. I'm almost coming to the end. Let's see. Don't release the yarn from the needle, but let's pull as much as possible. Let's go all around. Again, pull, but don't break it, okay? And this is what you have. Now we need to secure it. I'm gonna go against it. I'm going to go on the opposite direction. And back this way. I just want to secure this. I mean, there's probably an easier, we don't want to make a lot of backs and forth because then you see it. We want to make sure it's still pretty, but we want to make sure also that this yarn doesn't come loose. Okay. Keep pulling. Now I'm going to try to make that little loop that I like to always finish my sewing with. I'm going to pull that very tight. Okay. And, so now we're going to get this tail. We're going to let it go through there. Well, we're going to maybe two this way. There we go. And I'm going to pull extra. So when I release it, it's gonna go back in there. Let me see, cut. And now when I release it, it's back in there. And voila, you have your ornament. So pretty. We're gonna put the top back in. It's easier said than done. I'm gonna secure it, and look how pretty this is. Isn't this just so delicate, so timeless? This you can do with your little ones. It's a kind of a craft that has a good result even with 7, 8 years old. If you can trust them with a hook, your children, grandchildren, whoever you're taking care of can help you do these ones. You just have to help them with the beginning and the end, but it's a product that looks very, very nice. And look at the memories you'll be creating. Okay, one down, many to go, but this is so, so pretty. Now you can see this ornament was made with a thinner yarn. I just wanted to show you how it looks with a different yarn that is not as thick as the other ones. Still a very pretty ornament, very delicate. But remember, you will have to have an ornament. Hey, excuse me, sir. But remember, with this kind of yarn, you can really see the ornament underneath. So keep that in mind. Now, I'm not one of those people that like to rush through the seasons and decorating for fall right in August. No, I like to enjoy each season. But I have noticed that since I have my husband's and daughter's birthday in November, I host Thanksgiving, then I decorate for Christmas, I host Christmas Eve, that I don't have much time during November and December. So I said this project is perfect to start during the summertime or August, September, October, because you may have more time. You may be going to a vacation someplace and you're driving there, not you, but somebody else is driving, so you can do this project. Also, you may be watching sports. You have a child that is in, for example, my daughter is in swimming, so we have 7 events. I have lots of time in between events. Or I just took my daughter to watch a movie. I stayed at the lobby while she and her friends watched the movie, and I was looming in the theater. People thought I was weird, but it's okay. So that's why I decided to do a Christmas in July. Not because I want you to start already thinking of Christmas, but because now you may have more time. Also, there are some projects that you may need to use the outdoors for spray painting or cutting things, materials. And if you live in a state like I do, like North Carolina, it can get pretty cold. So there are some projects that definitely would benefit by starting earlier. I hope you get a chance to do some loom ornaments. And until we see each other next time, remember, let's create something wonderful together.